Let's talk about Joe Milton, man. I feel like a lot of people are really sleeping on Joe Milton going into this year, man. Like, people think my guy Nico might come in and start over him, and there's a good chance that could happen. But when Hendon Hooker went down at the end of the year, I mean, Joe Milton, it kind of took him a while to get going. You know, he didn't really have a great game against South Carolina when he went in. They blew out Vanderbilt, but it wasn't really that impressive. But against Clemson, I mean, you talk about having a coming out party. 3 touchdowns, completed 67% of his passes for 251 yards. How do you feel about Joe Milton going into this upcoming spring camp and this college football season?
So I follow Tennessee football very closely because my grandpa played football at Tennessee. So they're my, I guess, second favorite college football team besides IU, but we're horrible at football. So the Joe Milton story was he was Michigan's quarterback during the COVID year, and he was horrible. I remember watching him play going, this guy is bad. I mean, he could not make it. He got benched, transferred to Tennessee, became the backup to Hendon Hooker, who, of course, should have been invited for the Heisman. It probably would have won if he didn't get hurt. I was really pissed because you and me were the only 2 people that said he would win the Heisman, and then he got hurt, and I was pissed. So that happened. But he looked really good in those last few games. I mean, blew out Vandy, which a Vandy team that wasn't that bad. They beat Florida. It wasn't just like a one-win Vandy team. They almost made a bowl game. And then the bowl game against Clemson really looked good. Now, of course, you got 5-star Nico Alama-Leva coming in, and he's a really good.
How to pronounce his name?
I think I said it right. It's similar to I don't know. He's a really good player though. He's the second-rated QB behind Arch Manning. Some people say he's better than him. I think he's going to really have to prove himself in camp though, because Joe Milton, I think, will be the starter. I mean, he has a cannon of an arm. That man can sling that thing. And that fits right into what Tennessee wants to do. If you give their receivers enough time to get downfield, they will be open. You just got to have a guy to get it there. So I think this will be better for Tennessee in the long term because you could give Nico a year to kind of sit behind him. So I think Joe Milton 100% should be the starter. And if he's not playing well, if he's not up to it, then you can just put him in. But I think Joe Milton will be just fine. And I don't know, Tennessee could maybe win the East. They got to get past Georgia, who's the juggernaut that is taking over college football. But that game will be at home. It'll be at Neyland Stadium. And I think they could win it. I mean, I haven't really looked too far into their schedule. I know they have to play Alabama again at Bama. But I don't know how great Bama is going to be this year with Jalen Milroe as their quarterback, now that Bryce Young's gone, who is basically the opposite of Joe Milton. He's basically a running back. I mean, that guy can run really well. I don't know. I think Tennessee's going to be really good this year.
When you look at Joe Milton, he's 6'5", 245 pounds, has a Hauser for an arm. And if he ends up panning out, without a doubt, this dude probably is going to be a first-round pick. And every single season, at least for the last couple of years, there always seems to be a guy going in who has a lot of upside. The athletic potential is there. And then you have the fact that they may be a little bit unpolished. They may be a little raw. Last year, we had Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, who got a lot of first-round hype prior to the season. After, they're still getting a lot of first-round hype. Year before that, yeah, Sam Howell, Spencer Rattler. And I'm just a little bit surprised that not more people are gassing up Joe Milton because he's one of those kind of players with the size, the arm strength. He does have a good bit of athleticism, even though it's not Cam Newton-like athletic ability. It's like this dude, if he ends up popping off, he could end up being better than what Hendon Hooker was last year. And that's really high praise because Hendon Hooker, for over the last 2 years, has been the most efficient quarterback in college football. He has a touchdown interception ratio of 58-5 over the last 2 seasons. That's better than Bryce Young.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll be as good as Hendon Hooker because Hendon Hooker had that running ability, which, I mean, Joe Milton can kind of run, but Hendon Hooker was pulling some escape artist stuff. So I think Hendon Hooker fits better into the college mold. But I think the reason people aren't hyping up Joe Milton is because he was just so bad earlier in his career. It's like, oh, you had a few good games. Whoop-de-doo. Show me more. And I think he will. Because he's for sure going to get that starting job, I feel like. I know Nico's a great player, but I think Joe Milton's going to be that starter. And he could. He definitely could. He's sort of like he's kind of like a Josh Allen type, like a college Josh Allen type. When Josh Allen was at Wyoming and he could just throw the ball a mile, but he was like a little bit unpolished and stuff. That's kind of the type of player that Joe Milton is. So I think we could see some NFL buzz from him.